Hey, what's up, y'all? This is Brandon Simmons for BrandonSimmons.biz, and this is my weekly video blog, Bullheaded, a review of the Houston Texans news, as well as a preview of the upcoming game matchups. So this week, the Texans will take on the offseason. Yeah. Unfortunately, Texans lost to the Patriots 28-16 in their divisional round loss this past weekend. So now they have the off season to look forward and reflect on everything that went right. Uh, to reflect on everything that went right and wrong for them, and to look forward to all the things that they should be able to fix and coming to them. So I will help them or help y'all figure out what that is in this season recap episode that we got for y'all, that I have for y'all. So before I get into all that, let me go ahead and get this game recap out the way. So, like I said, divisional round loss to the New England Patriots, 28-16. Um, one of, ooh, if you haven't heard by now, it's one of CJ Stroud's worst outings of all in his short career. Four picks in the first half for Stroud, and they were like some of the craziest interceptions that I've ever seen a defense make. Like I think the first one, Carlton Davis had did a athletic on the knee type of interception. It looked like Brutman in the wedding episode of in the wedding episode in the wedding planner episode of Martin, Tracy Morgan character, Hustle Man doing that little interception sign. That's what it reminded me of. But he might as well have been out there making interceptions too. Stroud had enough to go around for just about everybody. Probably the one interception that a lot of people are talking about is the pick six interception by Marcus Jones. And so on that play, the way it was kind of explained, um, I guess Milton Williams had pushed Ursery into the backfield like that much. And so when Ursery got pushed into the backfield, Stover, he's running this route. I think it was supposed to be a tight end screen or something. And so Stover is running this route and he's tripping up um, on Ursery. And so when Stroud does the play action, he turns around not knowing that, the guy he's supposed to go to fell down already. So as soon as he turned around, he sees Williams like right in his grill. And so he doesn't have any time to just really make a sound decision of either getting away or just throwing the ball away. I mean, he does throw the ball away, but not in a proper manner. Like he just tosses it up. And so um, if a receiver wasn't there, it was going to be intentional grounding. Unfortunately, a receiver was there, and it was a Patriots defender, and so he took Jones took that back for a pick six, and really like that was just one of Stroud's just many bad throws in this game. Um, some I don't know what to tell you. I wrote all this down and I still don't know where to pin. I still don't know where to pinpoint all of the blame for Stroud's performance in this game. As far as like his throwing, um, I don't know if it was the weather or if he just had some bad throws. Um, it was definitely his decision making throughout the game that led to that. And some of the other interceptions, I remember there was one he threw to Hutchinson that was tipped and made into an interception um, to one of the rookie cornerbacks for the Patriots. So just horrible performance by Stroud. And not to mention, he didn't have no run game. He was, our O line, of course, they wasn't there. He was sacked three times. Um, no run game for Stroud. I think Woody Marks had like around a yard per carry or something like that. It was, just it was completely horrible. You know what I'm saying? So obviously with no O line, you can't produce no run game. So there's that logic in that. For the defense, it was all anybody could really talk about. Of course, another game where the defense played great. They really held it down, carried this offense all the way into the all the way into the fourth quarter, and actually had 5 sacks in this game, because that's what I didn't pull up before. 5 sacks in this game, 3 of them by Will Anderson, 2 of them by Neil Hunter. Um, so the I only thing I'm critical about the defense about in this particular game, which is going to sound crazy since they were the ones keeping us in this game. But the only thing I was critical about is the fumbles that they didn't recover. And so looking at the stat sheet, it looks like they forced 4 fumbles in this game, but they only recovered 2 of them. So my thing is, if they recovered, those other two, we're having a different conversation about this game in particular. Um, we're probably talking about how close this game really got, or we're talking about how the Texans actually won this game. You know what I'm saying? And to be honest with you, it might sound like I'm a little bit on the bias side when I say the latter is probably more true than anything. The Texans more than likely could have won this game had the defense like kind of recovered those fumbles. But there's never no guarantee that a team is gonna force a fumble and recover it right away. You know what I'm saying? It's just not. It happens a lot, obviously, but um, the problem it's it's just really like probably a 50-50 chance at that point. And in that type of weather, with what I'm saying, the football being real slippery and everything, um, it was probably gonna be one of those games where it's a super 50-50 chance that whoever's on that ball first is either gonna hold it or they're not. So uh, that's what it is. That's how I feel about the defensive side. They did good. Just I wish they would have recovered a couple of those fumbles. So just to wrap it up, man. In the end, it's just the problems that the Texans have had all year have pretty much caught up to them at like one game. That's pretty much it. A lot of people, it might be their first time watching the Texans, and so they're probably, hearing all the good. They probably heard all the good things about this Texans team, and for some people that are probably like dissecting the Texans for the first time all year, they're probably just now finding out about what this O line can do. I've been watching this team obviously all year, and it just looked like a consistent issue. Um, the O line wasn't up to par. And there wasn't any running game. Defense was good, carried this team or whatever. But it's the defense, and they can only do so much. You know what I'm saying? And so them being good, that's something that can work in the regular season. They can get away with being good enough to give this offense a chance, and the offense go find a way to win the game or whatever. But um, in the postseason, that's it. You know what I'm saying? You don't get no second chance. This ain't a 3 game, 7 game series. You get your one game and that's it. You know what I'm saying? And so even the problems like that with the O line and the no running game and all that stuff, that's only a small part to, CJ having, what I'm saying, a bad game. And, last week it was, I mean, what it's like one turnover, three turnovers last week. And so this week 4 turnovers, so 7 turnovers in two postseason games. Um, it just hasn't been his greatest playoff trip. You know what I'm saying? It hasn't been his greatest playoff run, and he's still 3-3. A lot more. That's a lot more that can be said than a lot of other quarterbacks. But what I'm saying, right now we're focused on him, and so um, I believe he'll get it right, and we'll get into all that later on. Cause boy, y'all, they was talking crazy about him. But I mean, hey, listen, it's lights are brighter right now, and so what I'm saying, they really had an opportunity to like go far. Like considering what happened with the Broncos, if we beat the Patriots, we could have, what I'm saying, went on to the Super Bowl and all this other stuff, and we just had to debate like who's gonna win that game, but it is what it is, you know what I'm saying. So can't be no coulda woulda, you know what I'm saying. Just gotta do what you gotta do. So that's all I got for that game. Moving on to the real reason I'm actually recording this video. Yes, season recap. Oh my God. It seemed like just yesterday I was getting ready to see what these Rams had going on coming into the year. And now it's like here we are, um, season recap a week away from conference championships and over 2 weeks away from the Super Bowl. Season done. You know what I'm saying? So, um, this year, 2025 Texans, it was something. It was a something. Lots of highs, lots of lows, like lots of those. You know what I'm saying? Fun season. Every football fan's perfect season. Things going right, things going wrong, things going crazy at the end. You know what I'm saying? It's just a great a great healthy mentally straining football season, regular season for a football fan. So just to like kind of recap, man, 12-5 Texans team, close to winning the division, almost didn't. um One of the things that really, 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 really stood out, obviously, was the defense. They were number one in points allowed this year. Had a top five pass defense. It was just a unit that was kind of underrated when the season first started, and most of that was because we were losing. You know what I'm saying? 0-3, nobody's gonna think anything of it. You know what I'm saying? But I kind of saw something like week one. You know what I'm saying? Like what stood out to me was the way they were hitting. Like they were. That was like one of my first notes that I made this year. Like this defense was like really hitting, bringing the wood and everything. And so for a couple games, it was kind of, like that. They were just going for the big hits and all that stuff, and they kind of slowed it down around week two or week three. They kind of got away from like going after the big hits and just making solid tackles, and then that's when things just looked like they kind of turned around from that point on. And so it was then we had the Titans coming into town. You had the Ravens uh, going on the road to face the Ravens and everything, and from there, the defense just really kind of took off and just became one of the best units in this league. Um, Kamari Lassiter, you could kind of see the improvements that he had from as a rookie. He was already impressive as a rookie, but now you can kind of see his aggression, kind of what I'm saying, being in the play. Being real useful in that secondary. I believe it was J.J. Watt that called him a psychopath or something like that. So yeah, he's really kind of just getting he's getting like a higher profile based off his play, and so that's a real blessing to be able to have that opposite Derek Stingley, an All Pro cornerback. You know what I'm saying? Like quietly becoming one of our best cornerbacks in franchise history almost. Spoiler alert, I'll get to that in a few. But I think Lassiter just coming up and stepping up into that role alongside him is very something that we can really, really benefit from. Um, it kept the offense in the games all year. Offense, well, I'll talk about them in a few minutes. They had slow starts in a lot of these games. A lot of times, offense really didn't show up until the fourth quarter. Especially in those first three games. You know what I'm saying? It was like fourth quarter. Okay, now CJ Stroud and them are about to lock in. You know what I'm saying? Um, you really saw it excuse me, come to fruition um, in the first Jacksonville game. That was definitely I think that was definitely a good example of this. Like they didn't come alive really into the fourth quarter, where they almost won the game actually. And so what I'm saying, that was big ups on the defense for holding that down. I spoke on Lassiter. Couple other guys. There's only actually one guy I got to mention. Well, there's a couple of them I have to mention, but first and foremost, I cannot lead this defensive segment without talking about Jalen Petrie. Jalen Petrie held it down for this defense. I feel like he was MVP of this defense. Him just playing in that hybrid nickel role really pushed this unit along well. Um, Daniil Hunter, Will Anderson, the best pass rushing duo in this league. I don't think they might be the only one, but I don't think there's a. If we're comparing the duos and units in each team, I think they really just might take the cake on this one. They have played exceptional um, as a pass rushing unit. They have really just beat teams, put teams in fear, big time. Especially last week, with the 5 sacks that they had. And Petrie, going back to him, he had like two of the 8 tackles for loss in the Pittsburgh game. So yeah, Lassiter, Anderson, Hunter, Petrie, like um, real solid guys on the defense, and that's just to name a few. Everybody else, Tuato, Shahir, the defensive line, Archery, Rankins, all those guys. Tongi made some big plays this year. Shout out to him. So that defense was just crazy. Also, I got to mention the Bills game. 8 sacks in that game. Um, yeah, 8 sacks in that game. That was probably our best game of the year, I want to say. But yeah, offense. Offensive woes, man. Okay, so it started off uh, more offensive line issues throughout the year. That was an issue dating back to last season. And, we were like, hey, we need to get this fixed in our season. And that just never happened. You know what I'm saying? So, um, more of those issues continuing throughout the year. As I mentioned, the late starts to the game, it seems like the offense just did not find any rhythm to the middle of the third or the fourth quarters. When they started winning games, once they were able to find that rhythm early on. So the games against like the Tennessee Titans, what I'm saying, were able to they were able to, what I'm saying, get something going with that. Um, who else? The Baltimore Ravens. I think Stroud had like four touchdowns in that game. So he loves the number 4 for some reason. Irony. Anyway, anyway, man, um, so yeah, he so yeah, I think once the Texans really found that, I think once they really found their groove early on in the game and got into their rhythm early on, they were starting to win these games. They were starting to really establish something with this offense and be able to, make these games close and what I'm saying, just kind of pull away. Um, but that was for the most part, that was like their downfall, their Achilles, like just having late starts to the game. Davis Mills, it cannot go unsaid what Davis Mills did for this team in that 3-game win streak. Just coming in at a time CJ was hurt. It's coming in at a time where we needed those wins to stay in the playoffs, and what I'm saying, he held it down, man. Like, there's no denying. There's no denying that this guy's a trooper. He's dedicated to this team. I mean, he was drafted 3rd round, came in as the starting quarterback, didn't pan out, stayed as the backup for CJ these past 3 seasons, and what I'm saying, he was able to come in and do that. Shout out to him. I don't know where his future is gonna take him, because I'm pretty sure a lot of teams looked at that and like, huh, what can we, you know what I'm saying? What can we do with him, in case our quarterback, takes a fall or, what I'm saying, goes somewhere else. So definitely shout out to Davis Mills in that 3-game span. And what I'm saying, beating the Jaguars, the Titans, and of course the Buffalo Bills. Which has to be like our highlight game. What I'm saying? And so definitely shout out to him on that. One thing about the Bills game, since I mentioned it twice already, um, that's also the game that put the defense on the map. I feel the eight sacks in those games, in that game, and it being on prime time, and it being like an upset. Pretty sure it woke a lot of people's eyes up to us. So shout out to him, and just shout out to Davis Mills for winning that game. You know what I'm saying? Like in the battle red jerseys too, really stepped up. Stroud played better when he came back in his return. So um, one of the things about that is when Stroud originally got hurt, um, he had a lot of people were like, this is like after a bye week, like a couple games after the bye week. It might have been a week after the 49ers win. And so people were like, yeah, he played really good. The consensus was he was doing his thing against the Denver Broncos, and Texans were well on their way to win the game until he got hurt. So we lost that game, but obviously next week going a 3-game win streak. When Stroud comes back, he goes on a 7-game win streak to finish the year off. So we're beating teams like the Kansas City Chiefs, who we had a hand in putting out of the playoffs. In fact, I think we were the team that really in their division crown streak. So I think that game actually put them out of the running for the division crown. And then soon they were like eliminated from the playoffs the very next week. Um, he knocked off the Indianapolis Colts. Uh, Mind you, that was the last game that Philip Rivers actually played in. Excuse me, not Philip Rivers, Daniel Jones. That was the last game that Daniel Jones actually played in, and then he was, ruled out for the year with his Achilles injury. And so, you know what I'm saying? Like we really just kind of held it down through the rest of the way, up until the playoffs. Obviously, it was well, ugh, ugh, yeah, playoffs. But yeah, Stroud, he really came back. He had an up and down year, obviously, down in the beginning, then you know what I'm saying, really up towards the end. So, he did his thing to redeem himself in the regular season. Um, no run game. Joe Mixon wasn't there. Joe Mixon has been, in and out the lineup. He was, yeah, he was. So I guess in the when so Joe Mixon, before the season started, it was reported that he had an ankle injury, and so everybody kind of rolled with that. I'm like, oh okay, you know what I'm saying. And then I'm listening to the press conference by Nick Caserio, and it's like, oh no, he ended up being like, oh he had a freak foot injury. This was like today or yesterday that he said this. And so I remember a while back, I think somebody or Casario said that he wasn't coming back for the year. So I'm assuming that's when Casario found out the actual details of that particular injury. So, um, but yeah, no run game this year. Uh, we were missing Joe Mixon a lot. Nick Chubb, he's just not the same Nick Chubb that we're used to. So, you know what I'm saying? It's really going to be it was just really not going to be great. Woody Marks, he's a rookie, so he's kind of getting accustomed to everything. He didn't have a 100-yard game in the regular season. He had one in the playoffs against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Um, we had a 100-yard rusher that was Jawad Jordan. And we had 100-yard games, but as far as like an actual like individual rushing game for 100 yards, it goes to Jordan. So, uh, what else about offense, man? 10-game win streak. Oh, the wide receivers. Oh my God. I can't leave this section without talking about the wide receivers. Jaden Higgins, Jalen Noel. For a while we were like, y'all gonna use them or not? You know what I'm saying? But they actually found, you know what I'm saying, they actually found this spot. A lot of people lobbied for Jalen Noel to be a kick return, get on punt return, and he did. He did a phenomenal job with that, I believe. Jaden Higgins, they compared him to a Nico Collins. So I think he performed well. He made some big plays down the stretch. So I can see him kind of like coming into his role more as he's getting more reps. Um, so yeah, I think it's interesting we drafted those two guys. Still kind of waiting on Tank Dell to return. So hopefully Tank Dell still is able to return and make an impact within this offense. Let's see. Okay, I think that's about it. Pro Bowlers, man. So I did not get a chance to announce the Pro Bowlers in one of my previous episodes. So Al Shahir, Will Anderson. Will Anderson also made the first team All Pro. Nico Collins made a Pro Bowl. Derek Stingley Jr. All Pro first team. First in Texans history to be named to a first team All Pro. I think at the cornerback. So yeah, I think it's the first cornerback in Texans history to be named to a first team All Pro. Uh, Daniil Hunter, he made All Pro second team, well deserved. Him and no surprising that him and Anderson both made those All Pro teams. They were just dominant. They were dangerous all second half of the all year. So yeah, shout out to them. Big ups to this group. Looking forward. So yeah, it seems like it's kind of back to the basics, really. O line, you got to get the O line fixed. Like that's first and foremost. You know what I'm saying? Like we tried it last week. I mean last year or last off season, and it didn't work. You know what I'm saying? We have to improve on that. Draft, free agency. I'm pretty sure there's going to be a lot of O linemen. Every year it's an O lineman that gets picked up in that round in that first round. So definitely gonna need to look out for like what's available and really focus on that. And free agency as well. Like get in there, like really try to find out who you can get a trade going, something like that. You know what I'm saying? Like really just like try to prepare this O line so we can get this offense back on track. Um, Running back. So running back, it was a lot. It was real interesting looking at this running back list for free agents. So, but yeah, just to go over it, like we didn't have no Joe Mixon, Nick Chubb. He might be on his way out as well. But even when he was there, we really didn't have him, so to speak. They didn't utilize him as much. So, um, I think it would be in the team's best interest to look for a running back. There's quite a few that's going to be out there. Quite a few names going to be out there. Here's the ones that I kind of been intrigued by. Um, Brees Hall, and Brees Hall probably number one on my list. The Jets, they got a new coach, but they've been giving away players too, so they've been trying to rebuild and get all this other stuff going. So I would definitely look into Brees Hall, and especially since he may be their best player right now. See if we got to do some finagling or something to get him out of there. Kenneth Walker for the Seahawks, Kenneth Gainwell, and Najee Harris. Najee Harris, believe he got hurt. He signed with the Chargers last season, but I think he got hurt for the year. So he's been out for a while now. Kenneth Walker, I don't see them letting him go, but if they do, like go ahead, get on that opportunity. Um, Kenneth Gainwell, you know, pretty dope running back from what I've seen from a few games I've seen him for the Steelers. Um, I would definitely consider. Uh, I would definitely consider bringing him in. Najee Harris, I'm like, cause it's another. You got another running back dealing with another like lower leg injury, and you just don't want that right now, especially coming off of having no Joe Mixon. So I would definitely, yeah, I would definitely kind of back off that. But yeah, I do like Reese Hall as well as Kenneth Gainwell. I think Kenneth Gainwell can offer a lot of versatility. So Stroud's future. Um, Look, one game shouldn't dismiss what this man has done in his career or this year alone. You know what I'm saying? Uh, this year hasn't been the most sparkliest, but this playoff game shouldn't like diminish him or just dismiss any of his work or accomplishments. He had a bad game, and a lot of players have bad games. We just saw Josh Allen's little little fumblerooski game this past week. So, uh, so yeah, but CJ, I just definitely think he just had a bad showing, and it shouldn't happen too much more. Now, With that being said, a lot of people ain't trying to hear all that. They're talking about, his contract year is coming up. They shouldn't extend them. They like people are just irate, like that. People that are not even Texans fans, like irate, like they saying he should not get his bread. Um, the thing I say about that is this: there's a risk versus reward to whatever decision that the Texans decide with CJ Stroud. So should they let him go? Here's the risk versus reward. You risk having to go find another quarterback, however long that may take. It's not always the situation where, oh, another one's gonna fall in our lap in 2 or 3 years. Like this happened with CJ Stroud, and who was the eventual replacement for Deshaun Watson. Um, you know what I'm saying? For some teams, they just crap out and they just do not get a good quarterback like at all for like years. You know what I'm saying? And so, I mean, hell, look at the Cleveland Browns, the rebooted Browns. You know what I'm saying? When they came back, it was Tim Couch, and then just names just started following along. And so, at a few years ago, it was ironically Deshaun Watson, and then seems like they still continue the tradition of having names just follow after along. Um, so yeah, that's something that you risk. The reward for that is, you know, well, the more of the risk, you risk not finding a quarterback, losing more games, but the reward for that is that you do find a quarterback. You've lost enough games that you're picking, in the top three or whatever, and you get a legit franchise quarterback at the top round. So that's the risk versus reward on that. Risk versus reward on keeping them and giving him his bread, you risk, probably giving him some uh, a certain amount of money that's might seem too much, um, and then you know what I'm saying, you probably not having enough money to fix other areas on the team. Uh, you keep him and he don't really do what he's built up to, and now you're kind of stuck with him and trying to, what I'm saying, really move around from under him. The reward for that is you found your franchise quarterback. Now you have him developed. He's not shook by anything. It's not a rookie, and he can compete with the Trevor Lawrences, the Joe Burrows, the Lamar Jacksons, the Pat Mahomes, the Josh Allens, the Justin Herberts. He can go and compete against all these guys, um, like now, like tomorrow. You know what I'm saying? And so so that's what I feel should be focused on right now. A risk versus reward as on what option that you want to take with CJ Stroud. I personally think he needs to stay. He doesn't need to go anywhere. You know what I'm saying? He's a damn good quarterback. You know what I'm saying? And like I said, one bad game shouldn't, dismiss that fact. He's definitely a great quarterback. Um, so what does so yeah, the war, you keep him, you got him, you know what I'm saying, battling franchises for years. What does a bounce back look like for CJ Stroud? So to me, a bounce back looks like he's moving around in the pocket a little more, avoiding sacks, but still throwing the ball away when needed. He's not taking sacks. Pause. He's he's just playing good, clean football, protecting the football. Um, he has like good, you know what I'm saying, continuing good mechanics, good technique. Um, does he bounce back and go into an MVP race? I'm not all the way there yet, but I definitely think he has better, offensive production bouncing back into next season. Now, part of his bounce back is also uh, how's he going to look in the playoffs. So to me, I think the playoffs, um, I think they're going to be a real indicator of how much he has improved. You know what I'm saying? So if he's, you know, if he's actually like improved, you know what I'm saying? Like they're gonna get wins. He's not going to do nothing silly to turn the ball over or anything like that. And if he's truly improved like throughout the regular season, then they're going to get back to winning the division, and they're going to have home playoff games at least for 2 weeks. So that's just how I feel about his future. Like overall, it's a bright future. Stroud came in at a time when the Texans were a laughing stock, and after one season of playing, he made us not that. So um, it's all good. It's gonna be good, man. I didn't look. I didn't been through goddamn Sage Rosenfeld's helicopter. I'm a Texans fan that was there when Tom Savage had to step in for Brock Weisweiler to go win our division. So it's like I done seen all the foolishness, man. This game that CJ had is bad, but it's not shaking me off my fandom. So he'll be alright. Team will be alright. City will be alright. So that's all I got for y'all this week. Um, if you're watching this on Facebook, facebook.com/Brandon Blog. If you're watching this on, like my video, share my video to your news feed. If you're liking this on, if you're watching this on YouTube, like this video, hit the subscribe button, share this video with anybody that you want. So, with that being said, I'm Brandon Simmons for BrandonSimmons.biz. Holla black. See y'all next season.